Hi. Hello. Okay. Hey, y'all. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Welcome back. I haven't seen y'all in a couple weeks, so happy to see you back. I have a great show for you tonight. So, welcome to the Becky Brown Girl Show. I am your host, Becky Brown Girl, and tonight we will be discussing part two of Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, pivoting to a new career in midlife. I was told, well, by one of my guests that he didn't want to be referred to as middle age, but you know, he's kind of in that space. So I'm just calling him big grown. Anyway, let me see if they are on yet. Well, I have to introduce them first anyway, but so I've talked about how, being mature, right, is not necessarily like the end of the world, right? There's a lot we can do to improve the quality of our lives and maintain the quality of our lives, depending on what we've been doing in the past. As we mature and we become more seasoned. And one of those things is to not kind of get stuck in one professional path, right? So we should pivot and consider other opportunities as they evolve, right? Age doesn't have to be a deterrent to you doing that. And so I'm looking forward to talking more about that this evening with my two guests who I'm going to add momentarily. Like I said, we've kind of touched on this in prior episodes. I did an episode on 9 to 5 versus entrepreneurship, as well as kind of talking about pursuing your passion. So this is like an evolution of that discussion. And like I said, I have two really great guests who I'm looking forward to speaking with this evening, Brent Johnstone and Dave Speed. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Brent first. Brent Johnstone was born and raised in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He earned a full scholarship to play football at Temple University, TUMF. I'm also a Temple owl. Anyway, he graduated from Temple in '99 with a BA in social work. After college, Brent worked in alternative middle and high schools in Philadelphia and New Jersey for nearly a decade. Brent also served as a Philadelphia youth advocate for juvenile justice for 4 years and as a behavioral health worker, also in Philly for 5 years. He's done a lot of stuff. Brent was on staff at Philadelphia St. Gabriel's Residential Treatment Facility, and finally he was appointed dean of students at the Universal Charter School in Philadelphia. In each of these positions, he witnessed the devastating effects of low literacy. In 2017, he co-founded Fathers Read 365 with Akeef Staples, I hope I pronounced your first name correctly, to address the root cause of young Black men ending up in detention centers. Since 2017, Fathers Read 365 has distributed 250,000 books across 20,000 home libraries and to their Ready First network of 170 daycare centers in Philly. I hate reading. I usually like to do it off the dome, but he's got too many accolades to mention here, so I definitely want to read through it. Through meaningful, ongoing relationships with the daycare owners, teachers, families, and children, Fathers Read 365 is eradicating low literacy for some of this country's most vulnerable children. Brent is also driven by his own experiences learning to read. He didn't find out until college that he actually had been living with mild dyslexia himself. So, without further ado, you there? Okay, maybe I actually have to. Okay, there he is.
Let
Hey.
me cam up right. Hey, what's
Welcome,
going
Brent.
on? What's going on? How's everybody doing tonight?
Okay, so I need you to speak up. I know you can speak louder than that, or maybe it's just because I need to turn up the volume on my device.
Is it? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. They probably can hear you fine. It's just me.
Everybody
Um,
can hear me? Thumbs up. People can hear me?
so so say hi to the people. Let them know if there's anything else that you want to say about yourself before we get into this discussion.
I don't want to take too much more time before we introduce the next brother, but the bio, that's actually the very condensed bio.
Is it?
Yeah, we got to find a way to make it even shorter. Um, but no, only thing else I would say is something that I'm really starting to put out to the world is about being dyslexic and being a proud dyslexic and proud. As you mentioned in the bio, I do live with dyslexia. It was diagnosed late in life, meaning I think it was my second year in college. I believe it was my second year in college. I'm almost sure it was my second year in college that I was diagnosed with dyslexia, meaning that I had to go all through K through 12, living with something that I knew it was something there, but I couldn't put my finger on it. So I didn't do great in school. Luckily, I was good at sports and got an athletic scholarship, and I was a good person. So I got a lot of socially promoted. But shout out to the teachers that did it.
Well, we're gonna dive more into that in a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and add my other guests, but I also would like to add, um, as a fellow, Philadelphian, we are both proud fans of Bird Gang.
Yes, yes, yes. The only
Be the
game.
damn song.
Coin hair first, cue the damn song.
Now that is what you need to,
Put on a shirt.
or shame. But I don't want to give
Yeah.
nobody any ideas, right?
There you go.
And then the final thing I wanted to say is, some of you have inquired as to where Becky Brown came from. My friend right here. So if I ever, become famous one day,
Screen
I might
record
owe him a
this.
little something.
Screen record this. Please.
Anyway, hold on, because my laptop done went to sleep. Okay, so and now I'm going to introduce my second guest so we can go ahead and get into this discussion. Oh, and Brent, please put um your socials in the chat wherever you want people to follow
So
you.
uh,
Okay, so my second guest is Dave Speed. Dave Speed is a dynamic entrepreneur based in Ohio, renowned for building a successful private rental car business. With a foundation rooted in utilizing platforms like Turo and HireCar, Dave identified a unique opportunity in the market and adopted the ugly cars, pretty profits business model, which has significantly propelled the growth and scalability of his enterprise. This innovative approach has allowed him to surpass his traditional 9 to 5 income, transforming his dreams of success into reality. Passionate about sharing his journey, Dave inspires others to explore the potential of the rental car industry and discover the success that awaits them. So, without further ado, I'll add Dave or not. So, talk to the people. What they saying in the comments. So, hi, welcome, Dave.
How you doing tonight?
So Dave, is there anything else that you want to say about yourself before we get into the discussion?
Sure. As I listened to Brent's bio, I was thinking, man, I left a whole lot off of there, but you know what I mean. But college graduate. I have a undergraduate degree in marketing and management from Central State University, HBCU, in Wilberforce, Ohio. Started working for the Air Force after that, and I still do to this day. 20 years as with the DoD, and
Wait, hold on. You can't reveal too much yet.
ooh, I can't do too much. Right, right. But yeah. So let me see. I went to college on a music scholarship. Vocal and instrumental music. Still do that to this day.
You gonna have to
Um,
bust something
I was
out tonight, Dave.
gonna
You know?
so
say,
man,
I was gonna say,
yeah,
you better. I hope he drank some tea.
there we go. Yeah, and had a career as a songwriter, as well. I still perform, but proud father of two, and all of that, and chose to do something where I was able to still stay within my home and and raise my children, because music doesn't give you the opportunity to do that, really. You know what I mean? When you're doing it professionally. So, but happy to have had several careers, that being one of them, but all while maintaining my career with the DoD as well.
Okay.
So you can do both. A lot of people think, it's kind of one or the other, but instead of one or the other, I like both and.
Well, and a lot of people, again, do have multiple careers, not just kind of consecutively, but concurrently. So, we can talk about that as well. But um, so I'm gonna go ahead and get into this discussion, but please also add your handles wherever you want people to follow you. This is I am Dave Speed. I know he has another business as well, that he might want to, you know, make y'all aware of. He'll probably talk about it. So, all right, let's get into these questions. So I'm just gonna kind of go back and forth, and I'll, ask you both to respond. But to start with, what prompted you to pivot to your current career path, and how old were you at the time? And I'll start with Brent, and then Dave.
I was 40 years old. I'll be 48 next month. And I just wasn't happy. I wasn't happy. I was about 40 pounds heavier at the time. I really wasn't happy with my career, right? And your career takes up a lot of your life. So if you're not happy with your career, you're kind of unhappy with your life, right? And that can impact all aspects of your life. So it was kind of like at that 40 years old stage, it was like this is like my last shot of really taking a chance, right?
Mhm.
At least that's how I felt, right? And that was really it. I was like, I have to change how I'm living. Although I love working, I still work in basically the same field, same communities, but it's how I was working. I didn't like how I was working. And I know I needed to change. And something else that the brother Dave said, I wanted to make sure I could be there for my kids, more than having to ask, could I be there?
Okay, I like that. Same question for you, Dave. Do you need me to repeat it?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
So I would say for me, it was more from a resource situation. I knew that I had a ceiling, and my ceiling was only going to get me in my career, my government career, up to so much. And I knew what that was, right? And we can even talk about coming out of college, and that six-figure myth, as I call it. You know what I mean? When you think like, okay, well, I'm gonna hit this magical number that none that my parents weren't able to reach, things like that. And then when you finally see 100K on that W-2, and it don't feel like how you thought it was supposed to feel. You know what I
Now you
mean?
gotta make like on the high end.
For, you got to be on the high end of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But right.
Exactly.
So and I'm looking. I'm like, okay, like this ain't all the way it. You know what I mean? And I was there for a while, and I was just kind of like wondering. All right, I did everything they told me to do. I went to school. I got the degree. I got the advanced degree, and I'm in the job. This is what I'm supposed to be fulfilled by this. I'm supposed to be happy with this, and I'm looking, and there are other levels of resources that I wanted to be able to acquire. Not just only for myself, but for my legacy. And I didn't see a way to do it that way, so I was searching. There had to be something else that I didn't know. So I began to acquire more information about business, outside of my degree and my job. And I decided at that point that I wanted to go into business for myself, doing something. And I arrived at the rental car industry, and I made a contract with myself that no matter what, I would never leave it. And that's where I am now.
And can add on to what the brother was talking about as far as legacy.
Please.
A part of one of the biggest parts of it was I knew I could be more than what I was. I knew that I had the ability of actually helping more people than I was help just working in these one or two little schools or programs like I was doing. And I wanted my name to mean something, right? When I was gone, I wanted my name to mean something. And I knew what I was doing wasn't necessarily going to bring that type of impact, right? It had to be more. And like that's where the whole 40 thing came in. Cause it was like, we never know when our time is, right? But I did know at that point, like, I have to start taking steps forward. How do I take steps forward to making this life different instead of just saying I want it to be different?
Exactly. It's the time for some action, in the words of Reggie Noble, right?
Time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
that's
feel
where
like
I'll be
Reggie
getting stuck
wiping
at.
my nose.
Wait, hold on.
Uh-oh,
Why is my
disappearing
internet? What's
that.
happening?
I
Huh?
said, the disappearing that.
Oh, that's how you do me? Oh, I
He gonna pop back up, I'm sure.
okay. Well,
Pause.
hopefully. Okay, so I'm gonna talk to you for a second, and
Okay.
hopefully, everything is cool over there. But okay, so what was the catalyst for? Well, you kind of touched on this already for the transition. Um, and had you been preparing for the transition and laying a foundation, or were you in a situation where you had to sink or swim?
It was all that, right? Because, and that's the thing about the transition, everyone's just going to look different. And there's no real right way to jump out of something you've been doing basically all your young adult life into something totally different, right? So personally, I didn't really financially prepare, to be honest with you. There was like a window there, right? I was put in a position at work where basically I was asked to do some illegal things according to special ed. Um, and and here's the thing, though. In that field, that type of stuff gets brushed under the rug so much. It was nothing for them to even bring it to me that way, to be honest with you.
Right.
And where I was in my life, and what I knew I wanted to do, and what I stood for, I said I'm not doing this, and I put it on paper. Right? I've said that before in other instances verbally, because I know if you put it on paper, they're gonna get rid of you. So I was like, wow, if I put this on paper, this is my out. I'll get at least 8 months unemployment, right? Because I
Okay.
know they're gonna find a way to get rid of me if I put this. Because I implicated everyone in this email,
Right.
and y'all want to know the truth out there. And
Uh-oh.
they and they got rid of me, and that's the only time I've ever been let go from a job in my life. And I've had a lot that you didn't even mention on that resume.
Oh,
Um,
that sound like, I don't know. That sounds like a lawsuit to me. But I'm not an attorney. I'm just
oh
saying. But anyway.
well, listen. I went down that route. I went down that route. I went down whistleblowing route. Long story short, I landed on vengeance isn't mine, right? I told so many main people, and that's when I learned fighting for children. I was working at a school. Well, I ain't gonna say the school. I was working at a school in a very poor community, right? One of the poorest in Philadelphia, one of the worst in Philadelphia. It was in Kensington. I'll say that it was in Kensington, and that's when I realized nobody. It's so hard to fight for children that people don't really care about, and I landed on vengeance isn't mine, and where I'm going with this new path, I don't need to be caught up in the mud of this old existence. And I flowed into life that way. Um, yeah, I think I forgot the question though. I,
No, you
I get
were.
emotional
I
talking
asked
about that
you.
situation.
I I asked you what the catalyst was, which you explained, and then had you been preparing, and you said you hadn't. But so where you were just kind of put. Well.
But I had been preparing on the other side. I had been put every summer because I worked in schools. I would have summers off every summer and a lot of weekends. I put myself out there as a speaker. I started programs, just running them in the community for nothing. Going out speaking to kids about my story and just overall about being good people, right? And from that, I was building social equity in the community, right? And I was learning, oh, I can do this, and I was starting to see other people who had programs and starting to learn a little bit about funding. So I did that way, but honestly, I had 8 months on unemployment. The program that I'm running today literally didn't come into play until that 8th month.
God.
Yeah.
It's
Won't he do
God's
it?
time. Um, so so you know what? I'm gonna actually ask you about that in a minute. But so Dave, did you need me to repeat that
Yeah,
question?
go
What was
ahead.
the catalyst? Yeah, I thought I lost you there, but
Yeah, no, I was trying to reply to a comment right
um
on here, and
I
then
was like,
yeah, yeah, it's all good. Back,
um
we good.
I was like, what did I do? Shit, we just got started. But
Right.
anyway, okay, so what was the catalyst for the transition, and had you been preparing for the transition and laying a foundation, or were you in a situation where you had to sink or swim?
Yeah. So, what's interesting is yes to all of those. You know what I mean? In different ways. So, catalyst is a process. So, I'm of the belief is it's usually not just one event. It's a series of events in my case that just kind of led me to, okay, like I feel like this is God, you know what I mean? Let me know that it's something else, right? And one of those was I worked on this huge program for an aircraft called a T-38C, and I was the person who signs the contract for a $9 billion check, so to speak, for the government, and it took us 5 years to get to this point. The most exhausting work I've done in my life, but you know we were able to do it. I won every award you could win within defense, you know, for this. And there's a list. There's a group of advisors. And the group of advisors are very high on this. And one of the ladies is the highest ranking civilian within the Air Force. And she was directly over the part that I was the lead of in the source selection. And after it was over with, she asked me to come to a conference. I thought she was asking me to come to a conference. And I was like, oh, okay, she wants me to come. And I'm reading the email. And she's asking me to speak. And I'm like, why are you doing this? You know what I mean? Like, where is this coming from? You know,
Not why.
so yeah, but because this was not our relationship at all. She was from a hierarchy standpoint, a superior. So, you know, I met with, she said, well, come meet with me because it seems like, you know, you're guessing about this. And I was like, I just want to be clear about what you're asking. And she said, yeah, I've been watching you the past 2 years. And I want you to speak. I have the symposium every year, and I want you to do an hour on leadership and leading, you know, from a middle, you know, from a first level supervisor type of thing. And I'm like, you want me to speak on it? And she said, okay, if you're feeling away, I want you to kind of put something together. We'll let my staff hear you do it. And I did it for her staff. Five people crying at the end of it, right? And she's saying, well, my staff says you got something.
Hmm.
So then they put me on, you know, for the symposium, and I did very well. Then she asked me to speak again, and I did very well. Then she asked me to speak for something that was going to be streamed across 15 different Air Force bases, half the Air Force,
Oh
right?
no.
I
Okay.
did very well. And she told me after that when she said,
Hey, bro.
um, people pay a lot for what you can do. I said, what do you mean? She said, yeah, speakers. Did you know that speakers actually, to do what you did, you know, people pay thousands of dollars. She said, but luckily you work for us, so I don't have to
So
pay
we
you.
don't have to pay you thousands of
Right.
dollars.
And I was like, oh. And I thanked her, but it hit me later on, like, okay, I think I was supposed to take that a different way, but I'm taking it like I'm bigger than this, you know what I mean, in that particular situation. And that was one of the things that kind of led me to looking for more, you know, at that standpoint. And then as I acquired more knowledge, I found a field and I found some information that I thought that I could add to that field. A lot of times what people look for when they're talking about starting a business is they'll try to look for an idea that they'll say, hey, nobody's done this before. You know, well, sometimes you got to look and say, has nobody done this because there's no market for it? Has nobody done it because who are you trying to satisfy? You know what I mean? What I did was take a market that's been around. Rental cars has been around since 1912. You know what I mean? Since the Model T. And I took a avenue for that business that did not yet exist, but it's the same business. I just adopted my own model for it, and I've been successful. But it's not because I found something brand new. I'm not Elon Musk. You know what I mean?
I hope not.
Right, for sure, yeah. But I took something and I put my own spin on it. So it's just when you get hit with the bug, just know it's always room for you. You know.
Okay, let's find out. You turn it. You about to be Tony Robbins out here. You and
Hey,
Brent. You like
hey,
tag team.
Hey,
Tony
not
got a bag. Tony
Tony.
got
See
a bag.
And like he said, people pay good for something that comes natural to us.
that part. Okay. So, um, and speaking of what comes to you naturally, right? You like how I did that shit. Uh,
Transition.
Oh, she called with it.
some people are natural born hustlers, right?
Mhm.
While others become hustlers through circumstance. Which do you believe best describes you, Brent, and then Dave?
I think I'm a hustler through I have hustle in me, but I hustle through circumstance, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Um, I create more ideas than I actually hustle. Like I could tell everyone on here a good hustle for them,
Yep.
but I'm more so going to hustle through the circumstance. Like when I have to hustle, when I'm when I'm locked in, like okay, this is it. Let's go. I'm a natural hustler because my dad and mom made me a hard worker. You know what I mean? Grew up in the '80s, so you kind of had to hustle back then, shoveling and all that good stuff. So I grew up in the urban horse stable, so we were always cleaning stalls, cleaning horses, working out horses. So, but there were circumstances that I was in. If I could have been just chilling, relaxing on the bed, I'd have did that too. So that's why when I know I gotta work, I go to work. But I'll say that, yeah.
So would this be? You have to find a way to weave that story in. I don't know when it's going to come into play, but I love that story, so I want you to share with the
Oh,
people if you don't mind. I don't know if this is the moment for it, but
got you. What story
uh,
is that? I tell people so
hey,
many stories.
you do the leg.
Oh, with my dad and the broken leg? Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll definitely work that in before this is.
I don't
Cause
know.
now, yeah,
I felt like that was a good moment for it, but
yeah.
anyway. Um, okay, so Dave, same question for you. Again, do you consider yourself a natural born hustler, or is it more like circumstantial for you?
Yeah, I mean, I was the kid that was selling his pizza at school lunch. You know what I mean? You know, I always worked retail. I was always kind of selling, what I mean? Something, whether it was men's clothing or, for a quick second, I was selling custom suits, at one point in time. Um, I was always enamored with the idea of doing it for myself. You know what I mean? Of creating something for myself. However, you know what? Our education system institutionalizes you. So as I'm coming up through that, I'm thinking, you know, that I'm supposed to, get out of here and get this job. And I was interning for General Electric at that time. I was like, okay, I'm supposed to work for GE. And, I was already aligned with companies. So I thought that that was the way. And that kind of beat that drive out of me. You know what I mean? It kind of subdued it after a while because I'm like, well, I went to college to get a job, not to learn how to become a business owner, because not that was not taught. Nobody was talking entrepreneurship, when
Nah, I like that back then.
Mm-mm. That's a very fair point. But so that kind of speaks to the point about, how college isn't necessarily for
right,
everyone.
right,
And so some people are natural born entrepreneurs. Like they just have that mentality. You have to have a certain type of drive
yeah,
and dog in you
yeah,
because it is it's not like,
It's in
yep,
you. It's in you. And just to add to what Dave's saying, I think I kind of sold myself short because as he was talking, I thought about when I started as a kid, our first thing, we had a store at our house. we lived like between the two major avenues in our community. Like we had like the 3 blocks we could lock in. We had a candy store, and that's how we were able to buy our school clothes. We saved all the. Every Friday, my dad would take us to a black-owned restaurant, and this was in the '80s, right? It wasn't a lot of black-owned restaurants. We went to like the same one, Mama Rosa's on Broad Street all the time. But he would take us to Friday night. We would go out, and then they would use the money to buy our school clothes, and we also would re-up throughout the summer. We only did it in the summer. Also, my mom worked in the schools. She would get all the school lunch tickets. So I had hundreds of lunch tickets at the house. I would go to school and sell the lunch tickets to people who didn't get free lunch. All I had to know what color week, if it was green week, purple week, orange week, and I would go hustle. Then I made buttons for a campaign. David P. Richardson, one of the most, I think he was the first black state representative in Philly, or the youngest. I think he was the youngest. My dad's best friend. And I found I could make pins. Remember the pins, the voting pins? Man, I made about that. I got $1 a pin. I made so many pins in high school. And so there was always something in me, like Dave said, about I want to do it myself. I want to own or create something. And like you said, we had some Mr. Johns, people who had their little trucks and stuff. It's not like, see, I mean, it's not even that much. It's more. I'll say it's more now, and the talk is more around entrepreneurship. But it was just something in me that always wanted to run something or own something or create something that I could say that was, that's part of me.
I love that.
For sure.
I love it. I don't. I was starting to say something that was related to what you said and Dave said. I don't remember what it was, but maybe it'll come back to me. So, okay. So, um, what have you found most rewarding about making the switch? And again, Brent, or I'll start with Dave because you spoke last, Brent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sometimes, and there's a few things, but sometimes you got to do something to let yourself know that you are who you thought you were.
I like that.
You know what I mean? And
That's going in
to
the
be
highlight reel.
Yeah,
there,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
there,
Bars.
there,
Say it again.
yeah. And that's what this has been for me. That's what this is for me. Like I knew that, other than managing, the Air Force's money, that there was something else, that I was bigger than that. I always felt like this. If you would have asked me, when I was 6 years old, I would have told you I was going to be a millionaire at 6. I just didn't know what, you know what I mean? And I've always kind of felt this way. So it's like now I couldn't figure out how I was going to do it. And then, when you have the vehicle and then when you see yourself building this thing and it grows, and not only that, the service that I'm able to provide, right? My business model is more like, it's more like a, what do you call them? The salon suites, that,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
like that. So people use my vehicles that I rent to them to make money, right? I target the Uber and rideshare DoorDash community, right? So they pay me weekly to use my vehicles to make money for their families. So there's a sense of pride that I have in that I'm also helping their personal economy as well. And these people are so happy to get a chance to earn money, based off of a resource that I provide to them, that I feel very rewarded, from that. But even before that, when I was just renting and renting to whoever for anything, I've had people that, were visiting, their friends and family, that were terminally ill, and it was the last time they were going to see them. You know what I mean? That they've had my vehicles for that. I've had, I remember one guy's father had just passed, and he told me he had a BMW of mine. And he told me, he said, you know what, man? He said, this was the worst trip, burying my dad. He said, but the best part about this trip was your car. You know what I mean? Like things like that,
Yeah.
and then even beyond that, showing, my son is 10 years old, literally watches everything I do, and him watching me build this thing and him knowing that, hey, we're in the car business. You know what I mean? He'll come with me and help clean vehicles. He's helped me drop off cars to customers, and they've given him gifts before and things like that. Him seeing that there's another way. Hey, my dad, he does still work, for the Air Force, but we also got this thing that has our name on it. My company company is named after my mother passed away in 2018. My company is my mother's initials, SLS Auto Rentals, right? It's got my name on it. You know,
I love
no
that.
matter how much I do for the Air Force, I can't pass that W-2 job down to my kids. It's nothing I can do. No matter how much I make, it doesn't matter, right? But
Mhm.
in this situation, not only can I pass down a business, but I can pass down everything that I learned in creating this. I can pass down how to overcome obstacles, how to be resilient when things look tough. You know what I mean? They're watching me do all of this right now. So that's part of the best thing there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So wait, really quickly, Brent, before you speak, I just wanted to say that sometimes, people talk about how they got haters. Sometimes the biggest hater is looking you in the mirror,
Come on now.
right?
Woo.
You're your own biggest op, your mind and your limiting thoughts. Ask
Yes.
me how I
And
know.
and I want to add on something the brother was saying about building this with your kids being able to see it. Both of my kids, I never forget. So we've written two books. I'm Beautiful and I'm Proud, and Mr. Healthy Snacks. Two kids books. You can find those on Amazon.com. Check out fathersread365.org. You can also purchase them there. Um,
Put it
but
in
they're
the
two kids books.
chat.
Yeah, and we'll put that in the chat. But they were there the first time I ever read this book off of my phone, right? They were there and they saw like, hey, I got this idea. I'm gonna try this out, right? And I went in there and I read it, and it was actually at Levan Austin. He used to go to Temple with us, um, uh, play basketball. He had a daycare. And it was like all these black, beautiful young black. I'm like, his name is Black. I'm like, Black, you got a bunch of you in here. It was all bunch of these beautiful black. And it was more boys in that daycare than girls. That's the only time I've ever witnessed that. And it was the first time we read I'm Beautiful and I'm Proud. And part of the song goes as a shot to our community is I love my hair, I love my skin.
Mm.
You
And the hair of these young boys.
you have to do it for us.
So I real quick, it goes, I'm beautiful, I'm proud, right? And when we say, they repeat. So it goes, I'm beautiful, I'm proud, I'm beautiful, I'm proud. I love, I will say it out loud. I will say it out loud. I love my hair, I love my skin, I love my smile every time I grin. I'm beautiful, I'm proud. Say that again, and then it goes into, I will always love me. I'm the best me I can be. If you don't love me, you can't be friends with me. I'm beautiful and I'm proud. And it's, you got to see it in action.
Love
It's a
it.
lot better. But me and Mr. A, we sang it with the kids. But to see those kids and my kids see me go from reading it off of iPhone to getting a book printed to me reading it at schools with hundreds of kids singing it, they saw me build something. I remember one summer I sat down like, hey, we can't do vacations probably for like the next 2 summers, sitting at an IHOP. Get whatever you want. They were real small and they didn't really understand as much, right? But I wanted to tell them and I wanted them to see the whole journey of your dad basically standing on his word that I'm going to take this thought and create a thing out of it. And now 8 years later, for them to be like, wow, like this is what pays our bills. This is what feeds. This is what takes us on vacations, right? But also, wow, my dad has been featured on TV numerous times. There's articles written all about my dad. Working this summer with my son, he's in the van with me. The book bus, we have a book bus. He's out doing deliveries with me. I'm telling him we've networked 180 daycare centers in Philadelphia area, right? And I'm telling him how I network those centers, right? Son, there's 6 centers within these 2 blocks. Why is that? If I give books to all 6 of these centers and I provide resources, early literacy resources for all 6 of these centers, now we're helping a community with early literacy, right? Also, when my workers in the future, when it's not me out delivering, it's easier for them to they could get a lot of deliveries done in a short amount of time. And kids, he's, oh, okay, daddy, looking out the window. But I worked for kids for years, and one thing I know, they can't turn their ears off.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yep.
can't turn their ears off. So as long as you're saying it, and they damn sure, unless they go blind, they can't turn their eyes off. They're seeing and hearing all of it, right? And they're matching up. Is what he's saying, what he's doing, right? Um, but to
Yep.
go to that point, it was so important for my kids to see me build this, and also that something you said earlier. I knew I could. I knew that I could impact this world at a heavy level.
Mm-hmm.
And that may be kind of bold to say, but I knew it in my heart. I knew it in my heart that if I go out here and do what I know is right and represent, all I got to do is represent who I am and what I love. This will work, and I can help change lives. I had a professor tell me when I was dropping out his class, damn near dropping out of school, failing out of college. He said, "Yo, you realize you're wasting your potential?" And I never had any teacher in my life tell me I was smart up until then.
Mm-hmm.
This was college, like my second year. He
Mm-hmm.
said, "Dude, you have the potential to be one of the great minds in this world. Don't fuck it up." And he was supposed to drop me, but he like made it incomplete. Whatever he did saved me for being eligible for football by like a point. So I
Uh-huh.
was able to still play. And he ended up being my last teacher. He ended up working in study hall with me. It was IH 51. And me and him would just break down poetry in the romantic era, stuff that I didn't even know I liked or could do. But it was the first time someone told me I was smart and believed in me. And then he was like, "Yo, you could be a great," and that never left me. So even when I was working jobs, I'm like, "Yo, this man said I could be," like, I'm kind of letting this guy down. I'm out here, I'm not out here reaching my
Shout,
potential.
you gotta shout him out.
And you know what's funny? And this is the thing about life. I have no idea what that guy's name is. I know what he looks like. uh, Light-skinned brother with red freckles and a beard, glasses. You know, someone I never would have thought changed my life. And this is the thing about a key is you never know who's going to do it and how it's going to come across you. Because I can't tell you this man's name to save my life, but he literally saved my life because I always was trying to reach for what he said. Like, yo, you have the potential to be very great out here. Don't mess it up.
I like how you clean that up.
Yeah, I
Shout
don't know
out
how the
to
algorithm is
Professor.
working.
Shout out to Professor Redhead Kingpin.
There you
Uh,
Do you remember him?
yeah.
of course.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Um. So see, I feel like this would be the good time. You gotta tell that story.
All right. So one of the things, and it works into not being afraid, right? In my high school year, I was like top 5 linebacker in the state. I was doing my little thing in football, and playoffs was coming. We was playing West Philly. It's funny because my daughter's school played West Philly this weekend, and ran the ball, broke my leg. Ended up breaking my leg, little hit, whatever, boom. My dad is like cheap and he always got hookups and all this. So he was like, I'm gonna go. He was a Temple cop. He worked the Temple football game. He like, I'm gonna go see the doctor tomorrow and see if they can fix your leg. And I'm like, yo, God, my leg is broke now. So we did go get it set. We got it set. Waited a day. This was Friday night. Saturday was the football game. I'm laying on the couch whole weekend, broken leg. Sunday is the day the guy can do it. The doctor say bring him in on Sunday. Sunday morning, ready to go. My sister, my 2 twin sisters, and my mom, they come to help me up off this old sofa, running down sofa. They come to help me up. I've been stuck for 2 days on this sofa with a broken leg. They go to help me get up. My dad says, "What y'all doing?" They're like, "We helping him out." Man. He about to be a grown man. He going to school to play football. He got to be a man. He got to stand up on his own. So I'm like, did he forget I had a broken leg? Like, it was, we saw the x-rays. This leg is broke. My mom pleaded with him. My sister's like, "Oh, daddy." He has to stand up on his leg. So I had to stand up on my leg. So it took about 20 minutes or so. I don't know how long it took. It might take an hour. It might take 2 minutes. It felt like a day. And I ended up standing all the way up. And when I stood up, I blacked out and fell right back down, right back down on the couch. They had to help me back up anyway. But it was at that moment, and I told the story at his funeral, I pretty much knew I could do anything. Like if I put my mind to it, I could do it. Because I never felt so much pain in my life, but I knew the only thing I could do in that moment was stand up. And once I stood up, he didn't make me like. Once I stood up and fell, he helped. He even helped after win. But that was that, and from that, I knew like, man, if I could do that, I could pretty much do any damn thing if I put my mind to it.
I like real.
I love that. I love that. Man, there's so much, Brent. You said a lot there. I just want to touch on one thing real quick, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we talking about this entrepreneur lifestyle and making these shifts, like we hear this phrase, and I think sometimes it's certain things we say in the black community just because we say it. We've been hearing it forever. You know what I'm saying? Seeing is believing, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. That's one of them, right? A lot of people think you need to see it to believe it. But to be successful here, you gotta believe it first. Because if you don't believe it, you're never gonna see it.
You're never gonna see it. You're
Never.
never, and people don't know how real that is because it literally has to formulate in your mind. Like you have to say no and see it the other side, right? Not
Yep.
I see when it's together, it's gonna be this. It's gonna be so much of that. I'm gonna risk it all to go get it.
Yep.
And that's a feeling that a guy told me when I was first starting this. Nasir Jones was his name. not that Nasir Jones. But he told me, he said, Brent, I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna get so real when you have to hustle your salary. And a lot of people don't, a lot of times we go to jobs, right? They give us a salary, we're leaving a salary that's comparable, we're leaving a lot of times for more. When I started, I had nothing. Absolutely nothing. We ran our program for 2.5 years. Nothing. We ran a full-time program with no money, no funding, and not even the idea of how to get funding. Our little mind, we believed it so much. We said, we're going to build this so much, they're going to have to come. They're going to have to give us funding. There is no way they're not going to see us. And to be honest with you, to be a small black two-man ran nonprofit in this world, we were out of our minds to think that.
Right.
When I
Look
look
at
back
your
on
house.
it, all I had was what the brother Dave was saying was belief. I totally believe that if we do this, it's going to turn into what we want it to be. And I'll be damned if it's not on its way like a rocket ship.
For sure. For sure. Congrats, bro.
Oh, thanks,
Okay.
man.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so proud of both of you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now, Brent, you've already kind of touched on the other side of the coin, um, which is what have you found most challenging about making the switch? So, I mean, if there's other things that you want
No,
to,
I'll let him go. I mean, I'm sure like him, we could probably talk all night on this, but I know I've
yeah.
just been running my mouth for a while.
Okay, Dave, go ahead.
Nah, like I think he did hit on a lot of it, but you did too, Becky, when you talked about the biggest hater. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Like when people say like transforming your mind, right? And mindset changes. Like the reason you have to do that, the reason that's why that's so important is because things are gonna go wrong all the time doing this. You know what I mean? It's gonna feel like I'm losing, losing, losing. Here go a little win. I'm losing, losing, losing. Here go. You know what I mean? It's gonna feel that way. And if you're not mentally prepared, to deal with the adversities of actually operating your own thing, then you gonna fold. You know what I'm saying? If you're not prepared for that, you're gonna fold, right? So I think that one of the biggest things I had to do, to prepare myself for that was a thing that I call the winner's diet, right? With that, I'm a big sports fan, right? We already talked about me being a musician, all of that. And when you look, man, if I watched, you know, 2 college games on Saturday, 2 pro games on Sunday. That's my weekend.
Right.
That's it. So I've given away. Now I already know that I got to work Monday through Friday, right? So you telling me the 2 days that they deem free days, I gave that away? Like I could have been building my dream during that time frame. And when I realized that, when a lot of people say I don't have the time, I don't have, you know what I mean? You make time for what you want to make time for, right? And sometimes we don't realize the time that we waste doing nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And what I had to do was think like, I don't have a lot of time to do nothing no more. I can't, it's not no, come in the house, you be beat from the day and you turn on the TV and you grab some chips, and no, that's dead. You know what I mean? I got a winner's diet now. I had to cut out TV. Everything that I had to ingest mentally was building me up. You know what I mean? We talking about audiobooks. We talking about, all of these books you see behind me right now. I don't read all of these. You know what I mean? Like I had to get prepared to deal with the things that business was the hand that it was gonna deal me. And for real, it's as bad as people think it is, man. You can look and be like, man, I didn't know it was gonna be this bad. I'm gonna be honest with you. Had I known some of the things I was gonna encounter, maybe I would not have started the journey. You know what I mean? Because I'd have been through
That's
things.
right.
You know what I
Listen,
mean? Like trying to build this. You know what I
I was
mean?
telling
Yeah.
someone yesterday a story of when that unemployment ran out, right? That 8 months later, when it was like, oh, it sounded good when I got 8 months of unemployment to figure it out. And it got to that 8th month and I hadn't figured it out.
Yeah.
I was riding, I was taking my kids to school, and the song came on. I'll never forget. It goes, "Don't go crying to your mama, because you're all alone in the big world." And it's a little pop song. Y'all may have never heard of it, but that was the worst. And at that moment, that was the last day I put in my last, like I had no income coming in at that point. And I was tearing up like crazy, trying to drive my kids to school. And soon as I dropped them off, the first person I called was my mom. I'm like, this song is dumb. They talking about don't call your mom. That's the first person I called was my mom. And I asked to borrow some money. I had never asked to borrow money in my life from anybody.
Right.
And I said, Mom, I just need this for right now I didn't even know why I asked for that money, honestly, but I just needed something. And I called the guy that I knew that ran a security company. I'm 40 years old now. And he said, yo, come down here tomorrow, get this job, boom, 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 boom. And I'm filling out the application. I saw another guy come in, and the guy had to get this young guy to read him the application. And I'm
Wow.
like, damn, he can't read. But me and him are filling out for the same exact job,
Yeah.
the same security job. You know how humbling that was, right? Um, Went to work. I'm like, where's Voyer? What club is Voyer? Right? Where's St. James Street? I didn't know it was on 13 from Walnut. I didn't know it was the biggest alternative club across the street from Woody's. And honestly, working at that club, I ended up working at that club doing security there. That was my first job out. It was a part-time. It was at night. I didn't get off till 4 in the morning. So it fit perfectly with what I was trying to do. It helped me keep something coming in, right? I ended up being like, I was second in command of security down there for a while. Long story short, it was something I never thought I would be doing ever in my life, but it was the catalyst to get me started. Because I didn't financially, I was unprepared to make this jump. I was not prepared at all. I totally made it with my heart and my belief system. But I said, this is where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be working in this club and all the, oh, I was on to everybody in there. I was the OG in there. You know what I'm saying? All
See?
that. And I'll be honest with you, even working in that type of club expanded me as a person. I
Mhm.
met people that I never thought I would be having conversations with, giving hugs and pounds to when they came in the club. Yeah, those people are in that club every night. That becomes a family down there. And it made me a better man. I'll say that because I started seeing things like more more personable, right? People as that's just who you are. You're just a person, right? And never thought I'd be doing that. I literally passed out one night because I would leave there 4 in the morning, come home about 4:30, sleep for an hour and a half, get everyone up for school, take everyone to school, then go run and do the father's read work, come home, maybe get an hour nap, run out, get everyone from school, help with dinner after school, lay down for like an hour. I wasn't sleeping. And I ran like that till literally one night on a Wednesday night, I fell out in the club. They had to, yeah, literally, I fell out from exhaustion in the club.
Right.
But all of that taught me something that I would go harder than I ever thought I would for what I wanted.
For sure.
I believed in this more than anything in the world, and I attacked it like that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Oh, y'all was really
I'm
dropping some gems. I love it.
Now, it's good
listen, bro.
energy with the brother on
You
here.
already know, man. And I
I
think a
knew
lot of
it.
what
I knew it.
Brent play football. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Well, like as many people on here know, like football is a game of inches. It's won and lost in the inches, right? But they're there. They're always around us. You gotta find the inches in your life. You gotta find how can I get a little bit further here? Listen, it's there, y'all. It may not be the 70-yard bomb every time, but like if you can get 2-3 yards on it, you gotta find the inches. You know what I
Sometimes
mean?
the biggest play is a 1 yard gain. Sometimes the biggest play is an 80 yard gain, right? All of those inches mean something. And
Mhm.
you have to be dedicated to,
Oh,
you have to be dedicated to, uh,
you wild, B.
I mean, we couldn't let that one slip, could we?
You wild,
We,
B.
uh, we have to be dedicated to go
Sorry.
to the 1 yard gain or to the 80 yard gain. You know what I'm saying? We have to be dedicated to either one of them and be comfortable there. Because a lot, and this is for young people now. This gets to young people who hopefully, I don't know, our parents want to use it. A lot of what they're seeing today, especially on that internet, is hustle now, no jobs, no working, become the boss today. Like you said, 6 figures today. Soon as you jump out, and a lot of that is good in a sense as far as entrepreneur, self ownership, and all that. But what they're going to find, and what I've learned, and you let me know if it's true for you, Dave. What I learned on some of those jobs that I hated are helping me the most now. If I never went through some of those things that I didn't want to go through in some of those jobs, I never would be able to benefit from the work that I'm doing now. I had to go through those steps. My mom always says, you can't miss your steps, baby. You got to take your steps. And if I would have not taken some of those steps, some of my worst positions are helping me the most now, are bringing me the most joy. I know, like, oh wow, if I didn't go through that there, I wouldn't be able to say this now or do this now. So jobs, ownership, we all want ownership, right? If that some people aren't built to be entrepreneurs, to be honest with you, right? Where who's going to
That
work
part.
for me, right? If everyone's an entrepreneur and the boss, who's going to work? You know what I'm saying? So the message around entrepreneurship is definitely for a select crowd. The conversation around the ownership can be for everybody.
Facts.
Everyone can and should own tangible assets, right? Especially as you grow older. You could be an owner with your 9 to 5 job, right? Because of that 9 to 5 job, you bought this land, you bought this property. There's nothing wrong with working a 9 to 5. Because here's the thing, you'll turn your 9 to 5 in for a 24/7, 365. When it's yours, it's always yours. There's no weekends off. That's your brand, your company, your organization, your franchise. It's always yours. 9 to 5, you could turn on and turn off.
True.
1,000%.
Yeah, but I think that you touched on something really important, which is that like it's not for everybody, right? It's always everybody wants to say they're the boss of something, but a lot of people don't have the work ethic.
Right.
Like you don't barely want to do the job that you're being paid to do by the man, right?
Right.
When you're an entrepreneur, like you said, it's constant. There is no like you can take breaks, but you're only doing yourself a disservice because when you're not like sort of constantly thinking about how you can grow and evolve and develop your business, then it's, you know, it's probably dying.
And
Yeah.
something else is, for me, it's no way. I'm here representing my found my organization tonight, Fathers Read 365. But it's no way this gets done without my partner. It's no way I do this by myself. And that was the other thing, that we were so vulnerable with each other. Like, we literally kind of courted each other for a month to see if we could work with each other. Like, what do you think about this? What do you feel about that? Blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? And we came to the idea that, yo, we can work with each other. Where he is, I'll just say where I won't say weak, but you know, where he could use some build up, I'm strong. Where I could use some build up, he's very strong. See, running a business, people forget there's a business side to running a business. X's and O's, all budgets, all that stuff, deadlines, meetings. It's not just people will see me giving out books and reading with the kids, and it's like, yeah, that's one side of it. That's the performance side. That's the service side. We run a business, and I don't think a lot of people. I honestly believe if people knew more about nonprofits and how they work in our community, is one of the ways we could truly save our communities. But it's also one of the ways that's kind of been gate kept from us. Um, because I work in a grants business, right? For-profit business work, you getting loans. I get grants. There's a difference. I don't have to pay grants back where you have to pay loans back. I won't even get too far into that conversation, but what I'll say is this: a lot of us are doing work and have ideas and have the capabilities to start these small organizations in our communities and grow them. And if we truly want to see change in our community, we have to take back the programming in our community. Programming is so important. That's why are they running so many social service programs in our communities? Without the true, a lot of people get help, but have we truly seen change from a lot of these same entities that have been in our community for years, getting all type of funding to be in our communities that a lot of us work for, that a lot of us build up? And that's what I noticed when I was like, wait a minute, something that I said turned into a program, a program I came up with, in this school ended up getting real funding. Well, if I'm doing it for them, I damn sure could do it for myself. Who funded that? Matter of fact, let me just type in funding. A literacy program. That means me and my partner, we said, who's funding them? That's all public information. All these are people we're going to target with our program. Let's start reaching out to them. Let's start being where they are. Let's get in front of them. So I don't even know what tangent I got on
No,
just now.
you
Um,
spitting. Keep going.
I'm
Keep
cooking,
going.
but it is that it's a lot that I want to say around this, because there's a lot of us who could do so much more. And it's not to be this great millionaire or billionaire. I mean, we all want to make money, we all want to be successful, but I'm at a point in my life where I want my legacy to truly be what I've done, right? And that may make me millions of dollars, and that may not make me millions of dollars. But AZ had a line that I always loved. He said, I never sold millions, but fuck it, I'm here to say the babies. And
Mm.
that's one of my monikers. Is that I'm here to say the babies, because I would never want a kid to live a life that I live, going to school, struggling with reading and learning and all of that, right? So I really felt like there's no one out here, and there are, don't get me wrong, but I felt like there was no one out here doing what needed to be done. And that's what powered me, is that, you know what? We can't have kids not being able to read. I work with a kid that's at my last job that I was telling y'all about earlier. This kid was in sixth grade, cute looking guy. His nickname was Cito. I don't, nobody know that, right? Um, Dominican and Puerto Rican kids. Mom and dad both were drug dealers. They didn't speak English, and he couldn't read. They couldn't help him read. In class with me, and whatever she would say, I would repeat the word. And if he didn't know how to spell it, the pencil would just stay still. Then I would say a letter, and he'll start spelling it. So she said, is. And I'm waiting behind him, and I didn't see the pen move. And I'm like, oh, he didn't hear her. I said, yo, she said, is. And he just held the pen tight. I said, I didn't even really want to say, I said, I. And he wrote that I damn near started crying because I was like, oh shit, he doesn't know how to spell is. And about a minute later, it came up and it was the same interaction. This kid was in sixth grade. He can't read. And one day he was about to go outside to fight. He set it off. He was known for setting it off down in a Badlands, Kensington. And we was having this heart to heart because I said, I get it, man. I understand. Everybody wants to be good at something, right? You want to be good at something, and you're in school all day, and you can't be good at school because of the issues. And he knew that I struggled with reading as well. I said, so setting it off, doing this, that, and the third, that's where you're good at. I get it, but that's not going to work out for you in the long run, and all of that. And in that conversation, he said something to me. I don't think people realize how bad it is for people who can't or struggle with reading. He said, yo, man, I can't text with him. Every girl in that school loved this little boy. He was a cute looking little dude. He said, I can't text with him. I'm like, what you mean? He said, I can't text with them, the girls. And I was like, oh. In the 80s, when I'm struggling, I'm talking all day. It wasn't, I'm masking this like a one thing I could do is talk. I could talk all day. He said, I can't text with him. These girls are sending him, Lord, whatever. He can't communicate with them. Long story short, that boy is sitting in jail on a double murder from at 20 years old. He's been in there for about the last 3-4 years. It's known that he didn't do the murder. But whatever, that's what I know of my follow up on him. And I always tell this kid was the nicest kid. He was he when you had him in the room, he wanted to learn how to read. We were trying our and it was that. Like, so I don't care if I ever make millions, if I can help the CETOs of the world, we helping thousands, millions of people by helping one, by helping whatever. So when we say we've given out 250,000 books for free, donated, and we've literally handed these books to these children in their hands, right? That's impact. So yeah, I'll be quiet right now because yeah.
Oh, now y'all not gonna make me cry on the Becky Brown Girl show.
And shout out, man.
But you might.
Shout out to Cito.
It's a,
Oh
Great.
man, listen,
it's a
I
first
think
time for
about that
everything.
dude a lot because he don't deserve to be where he is. He doesn't deserve to be where he is, but there's thousands of kids with CETO. So I'll give y'all something real quick. 48% of American prisoners have dyslexia.
Wow.
Something that we can easily work on. Only 5% of this world just can't learn how to read. The other 95, even if they struggle with a reading difference, if they have the proper tutoring services, resources, science of reading, they can. My son went from he was on a third grade. Excuse me, in third grade he was on the kindergarten reading level. We fought, even sued the school. Ended up getting him his proper services, which was Wilson's tutoring, part of science of reading. Google it if you want to find out more. Wilson's language, science of reading. Check it out. Half an hour twice a week. He went to class, went to tutoring. He went from third grade kindergarten reading level to fifth grade. He was one of the top readers in his class. He can look at a word now and tell you why the word sounds like that, how it's spelled. This is the same kid 2 years ago who couldn't read the word, right? So it's so important. And last thing I'll say about early literacy, there's no reading teachers after third grade. Most people don't realize that. Reading happens, this is how reading is gauged in the world. You learn to read from 0 to 8, 0 to third grade. You read to learn for the rest of your life. So if you haven't learned to read by third grade, that's why they say all the third grades until you might have heard prisons of. There's a lot of truth in that because 80 85% of juvenile delinquents or juvenile offenders that's locked up, 85% of them can't read above a third grade reading level. 75% of adult males in prison can't read above a third grade reading level. After third grade, unless you get a tutor or your school maybe creates a reading program, and it's going to be through a tutor, no one's teaching reading. So your kid literally has that short span to master something that they're going to need for the rest of their life. Crucial.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely something that I think people who don't struggle with that take for granted. Like now that I think about it, because sometimes I'm one of those people. Well, not anymore, but I definitely used to be like this. When I would see stuff on social media and I'm like, what are you even saying? And I would just feel so like, but I mean, look, thinking about what you're saying now, that could be that person,
Yeah.
right? Like you understand what I'm trying to convey, even though I might not be saying it in the, grammatically correct way.
It's
So,
times I look at my writing and I'm like, I didn't write that. I did not write that. Because that's not what I was like. How did those words show up?
right,
Like I don't
right,
remember even writing those words. When I go back, it's times now. You know how you get memories on like
yeah,
Facebook or something.
yeah, yeah.
I'll be editing something from like 5 years ago. I'm like, oh man, I spelled those words wrong. And
Oh,
it was one of the reasons I became vulnerable on social media because I'm like, I'm always gonna mess up. I'm always gonna spell something. I don't want to say always, but a lot of times I'm gonna spell something wrong. Grammatically, it's gonna be wrong. I didn't. I always joke, I like saying there because it's there, right? It don't matter if I say there, it's there. It don't have. You know what I'm talking about if I use it in context. But for years I didn't. I struggle with spelling. Like I struggle with spelling like crazy. I struggle with grammatical use being grammatically correct. And to have to go on Facebook and just say, I might write a paragraph sometime. I one of the reasons I started sharing is because of that. Because I'm like, people gotta be looking at this like, what is this guy writing? Like, what's going on
I
here? And I'm a
remember, yeah.
but yeah.
No, no, I was just gonna say I don't remember like feeling confused,
Well, here's
like I
another
didn't know what you
thing.
were trying to say,
By
but
the time I'll put out a status, I might have worked on that status for a half an hour. I might have worked on that status for 10 minutes. I might have one, you might see 1, 2 sentences, but I might have took 10 minutes to write that, to double check it 3 times. It's so much, man. That's why it's connected a lot with alcoholism, depression, suicide, because if you're dealing think about now with these phones and everything. You're constantly reading and writing. I worked with my sisters at a restaurant one time, and
wait. So hold that thought for one
yeah,
second. I want you to finish your thought, and then
because
I wanna.
I'm starting to talk too
No,
much. My bad.
just want to make sure Dave doesn't feel left out. Y'all both have so much to share. That's why I knew
It's
y'all
all
were gonna
good.
be
Yeah, it's on
and
you.
together.
You supposed to be the host here. You supposed to cut me off.
What you're saying, but
No, it's
but,
cool.
but
My
you
bad.
have a lot of good gems. So shout out to the food chasers. Those are Brent's sisters. They
Yeah,
they have a restaurant in, you tell them where it is. But they used to, now I'm plugging them. They used to be principals, right?
yeah.
And now they
Oh,
they they
they
they
transition.
pursued their passion.
They're doing what we talked about. Woke up one day,
Yep.
pandemic, like let's do something different. They've been chasing food, building up other people's businesses. They're amazing cooks. Everyone been telling them for years, especially me and my brother. Hey, y'all need to be doing this yourself. And we pushed them, but once that pandemic hit and they started doing catering, they saw that money come in. They
Mm.
realized like, oh, okay, this is real. And I mean, they went from there to being featured NFL circles with Jalen on commercials for Pepsi, to being featured at the Super Bowl, to kind of
Yeah, that's right.
uh, just what we're talking about, belief, right? Belief and working hard, doing it, trying to find workers, but going from a principal to working in the kitchen, that ain't easy work. But taking it from a thought to a thing. And a lot of it goes back to my dad. When I mentioned that corner store, that was my dad. Hey, Dad, we got an idea. All right, I'm going by your inventory. Hey, Dad, we want to do this. When I started doing those pins I was talking about, that would stop me from selling drugs. Everyone around me was selling drugs, basically. It was the 80s, early 90s. He gave me something where I can make as much money as I wanted to. But anything I wanted to do, he supported it. And he took it on like it was his mission. And as parents, I heard Dave talk about that with his son. It's so important for us to set that tone as far as just being good people, being good people, going after what we want, ownership, entrepreneurship, whatever that is. But I always tell my son, you were meant to stand out. That's why you're outstanding, right? You were meant to stand out. And just showing them it's okay being there, right? And I'm sure you know, Dave, in all of this, we have to be very vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that males, I don't say especially black males, all males, none of us are really taught or raised to be vulnerable. But to do what we're doing, transitioning, you have to be so vulnerable to do that.
It's a fact.
Dave. Thank you, Brent. I mean, you had listen. I could have done this with y'all individually, but I thought it'd be a good dynamic to have y'all both on. But again, you both have so many gems to share. So
It's all good.
I hate to stop you,
No,
but
I'm
I
shutting up.
gotta.
I'm shutting up. I just said I'm gonna shut up like 5 times.
Dave. Okay, so where do we leave off? Okay, so just really quickly. Sorry,
No, you
Dave,
good.
but
You good.
did you I don't even know if I actually got to this question, but I think I already know the answer, which was, did you, either of you, experience any regrets in making the transition? And then did you have a strong support system, or if not, how did you overcome the naysayers? And Dave, I'm gonna let you take that
You got it,
first.
Dave.
Yeah, yeah. So, uh, yes and no, to that question, and we spoke about this briefly before, but it's it's a lot with that. So none of my my significant other, my family members outside of my brother, they didn't feel like this was a good idea for me to do. You know what I mean? It was, hey, you already solidified, you got an upward trajectory and what you're doing already. Like, why would you mess that up? Why would you sacrifice that possibly? For this thing, nobody even knows what this is you about to do. You don't even know. You know what I mean? And I remember having a question, kind of inquisition meeting, with my significant other, and you know, and she was asking me, well, what if this happens, and what if this happens, and what if this happens? You don't do you know what you'll do if this happens? You know what I mean? And I didn't have answers for all of that, right? And you're not going to. That's the thing, because you don't even know, half the things that are going to happen to you along the journey. But I'll tell you this, and I said the same thing in that meeting. Like, I know that if I make a step forward, if I make a step up that staircase, even though I might not be able to see the way, the next stair is going to present itself. You know what I mean? Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm moving. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? God said faith without works, right? Done. Dead.
Yep.
That's it, right? So I knew I was willing to put the work in. I was willing to put the work in to learn, you know what I mean, and all of that. So what I had to do was literally have tunnel vision in that situation. A lot of times, you know what I mean, what we do is we get a great idea, and the worst thing we do sometimes is we go tell people around us, and we share those big ideas with minds that aren't
Big
where
enough.
our mind is at. You know what I mean? Like, you can have friends a lot of times, and you don't know, like, you could be a giraffe and your best friend could be a turtle. You know what I mean? So if you're thinking about the eye level of that, they got the eye level of a turtle, but your vision is giraffe vision. Your neck up high, you can see everything, right? So if you sharing that vision with a turtle, and they can only speak from where they're seeing it from, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't see what you see. So you like, dang, like, Why you don't? I think this is a great idea. Why don't you see this? They
Right.
weren't made to see it. You're a giraffe. You know what I mean? And what happens a lot of times, and this is a scientific fact, as giraffes, when we lower our heads to speak at a turtle level, that giraffe is going to lose the ability to get oxygen, which is going to not enable it to be able to think clearly, and that giraffe is going to fall. So
So
if
keep
you're getting input right from people that are not speaking life into that particular thing, you know what I mean? Then if you take that in and you have ownership of that, and somebody else putting their other limiting beliefs on you, you can't allow it to happen. So in my situation, the biggest support, and he just left, was my dad. He is at the house right now with my kids while I'm, talking to you guys. But he was coming from a rough situation. My mother had passed away in 2018, and he went down the dark road after that. Substance abuse, a lot of things. So, as a lot of the part of the pandemic, I'm helping to dig him out of that rut right at that point, and still trying to grieve my mom's loss at the same time. But, I had a feeling like, it would be tough for him. And it was tougher than what I could have ever imagined. I don't want to, go deep into everything that happened, but it was a lot for me, paying drug debts and dope houses and everything. I'm a grown man, you know what I mean, doing this at this point, right? And was able to get him into a facility, and he was able to get, his self together and turn his life around. And once he got out of that rehab, and I was telling him that I'm starting this business, he told me, he said, well, I got time. I don't have nothing else to do, and you helped to save my life. So let me help build the thing that you're trying to build.
Mm.
And I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't know if I needed his help at that time. But once the business got up and running, I look back, there's no way I'd be where I am today if he hadn't helped. Like seriously, it's literally no way. So it was me and him back and forth, on that highway, from Dayton to Cincinnati Airport and Columbus, Ohio Airport, and delivering cars to people. And I didn't know that a lot of my business was going to come outside of my home city, but it did, and I needed somebody to help drive. If it were not for him, I would never have made it through that period in time. You know what I mean? So not only did I help him, he had the opportunity to help me, and then I was able to pay him, and and do things like that, after a while. So, those drives allowed us to really repair our relationship, because we had some things we had to get past as well. A lot of those drives was an hour of silence. You know what I mean? But we knew that we loved and respected each other enough that he was like, no, I'm here for you. And when you ready to communicate again, and we can get some closure and some understanding on some things, I got nothing but time to do that. So not only did that business help me in that way, but it really repaired and strengthened the relationship, with my dad, that, to be honest, I didn't know if it ever was going to come back around again. So, a lot of things, when we take um these ideas that we have, right? And when we speak to ourselves in a negative way, the most talk that you'll have that's the most beneficial for you is self-talk, right? Like, you got to talk to yourself nice before anybody else gonna talk to you nice, right? So be patient with yourself, right? Love is patient, love is kind. It starts within. That love talk, you got to speak it to you, right? And if you got these ideas, they babies, they need to be nurtured, because if not, you don't know how to care for that baby in that time frame. It's easy, to kill that baby if you don't know what to feed it, right? So as you're talking to yourself and you're building yourself up, you gotta do it. It's your responsibility, because you don't know who your vision is meant to be a blessing to.
Exactly.
Just that main thing in and of itself. Like when Brent, when he was talking about the situation and him leaving that, like, he probably didn't know at that time how many lives he was going to change with what he's created now. I didn't know. I've met people I would have never met had I ever started this business. You know what I mean? But I know that I've been able to affect people, not only with the service I provide, but with my message and with my knowledge, and helping other people start these businesses as well, right? Let's not take these things that, like, when a lot of people say, like, hey, I'm just waiting on, I'm waiting on God, right? I'm waiting on God. I
He
hear
wait.
people say that all the time. if
You're gonna
yeah,
be waiting until you see him
you feel me,
at the
right?
end of your
Just feel
life.
that, right? What they say already, you know what I mean? The most wealth lost is in the graveyard, right? So what we do is when we don't service these ideas that come to us, we don't know who, like, we could help change the direction of a life, and we never get a chance to do it because we done snuffed it out already, because we done already told us what we can't do when it was put in you for a reason. God already did his part. You waiting on God. He gave you the idea. He did what he was gonna do, right? What did he do, man? Like, he didn't send the ark, he sent wood. The flood coming.
Oh man,
What you gonna do?
let's go.
You know what
Church,
I mean?
let's go, Dave.
You feel
I
me?
got
You
we
gonna
having church on the
you
Becky
gonna but I'm
Brown Girl
saying,
show.
no, for real, like, you gonna build, you the wood is there and you waiting for something already put together. No, we got these hands and they work, y'all. We got this mind and it work. So while we have the ownership of our faculties, let's take it and let's make our dreams come true, because our dreams is going to raise the dreams of a whole lot of other people. You just got to give it a chance.
Yeah.
Just got to give it a chance.
Ooh-wee. Oh my God,
You right,
y'all
you
are
be
like,
writing music, dog. Yeah,
I used to do that. Yeah.
I see.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
You know what I'm saying though? So like, I had people that was for me doing it, like, my dad, and some people that wasn't. But you know what I'm saying? That belief starts within you first. And then when you can build yourself strong enough, then you can light the candle of everybody else. But you gotta light your own candle
You got
first. That's
and
hard.
and and not allow other people to dim it too, because there's nothing wrong with sharing your dream, right? Because you never know who could add to that, right? Who could add to the cipher of your dream. It's when they start talking negative and making you doubt it. That's when you have to stand strong within what you believe in and be like, all right, that's that person's opinion, that's their thought. Moving on. And that could be your mama, that could be your brother, that could be your wife, that could be your husband, that could be your best friend. It doesn't matter who it is. You just got to stand firm in what you want to do. So there's nothing wrong. Because I think someone say you don't want to share with people. I believe it's cool to share with people, because you just never know who knows something, or who's going to help your dream blossom. But it's when the negative come or the doubting come to just be like, that's your thought on it. That's not my thought on it. That's not
Gotta
my
be
truth.
strong enough to overcome
Well,
that.
I was gonna say you
What
have to be
that
very,
you know what I
you
mean?
have to be very, very firmly embedded in the belief in yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you're already feeling uncertain about, like, you might think it's a great idea, and then, but not really feel confident enough in your ability to
Right.
bring it to fruition,
And
and
So
then have somebody come and sprinkle their, their
yeah,
little negativity on it, and
like,
you're like, well, maybe,
yeah, you right. You
yeah,
right. I probably should. You know what I'm
exactly,
saying?
exactly.
So I got this
Oh,
extra.
hating ass.
right.
I facts. You know what I'm saying? I got this exercise that a group of us have done, and I always kind of mentor people, and I tell them to do this too. And for everybody who has ever thought about being an entrepreneur and doing anything for yourself, this is important. Get your phone out and start a text and say, "Hey, to the most important people, right? The people that love you, I am going to do a new thing right now. I am going to go hard on this business. I'm going to take, 3 months, 6 months. I'm going to go really focused into learning as much as I can and implementing the things that I learn. And I know that this might not be something you agree with, but this is what I'm doing. If you love me and you care about me, you'll speak life into me and encourage me on this journey. If you don't, then I won't involve you in my business dealings again. And I want you to respect this if you love me. Hit send on that text, and you will see, you know what I mean, like what comes back. And I've had with people like, hey bro, I respect it. I'm told them I'm not going out no more. I'm not doing this. This is what my focus is right now. And the people that really love you, they're gonna respect that messaging, and they're gonna support you on that journey. Just stick to your word. You know what I mean? But there are people that will support you when they, when they know about it. But you just got to be, prepared for those that won't, and you got to say, hey, I'm bigger than that. I can rise above.
So I have, because I know Brent, you look like you want to add something to
Oh, no,
to
no,
that thought. No. I do want to I want to wrap up the discussion, even though y'all are sharing so many really impactful and powerful gems. I appreciate you both so much. But I Dave, you've already kind of touched on this. But if there's anything else you want to add, and then um Brent, you can go. What advice would you have for somebody who's contemplating making a transition, to something new, especially at a big grown age? I mean, by the way, I don't think 40 is a big grown age, but in our society, like 40 is
I
the threshold
think
into
it's big
being an
for
old age.
transitioning, though. I do think it's probably like that last lifeline. Um, because I would say that's where you have your last bit of youthful energy, where you need those extra hours and time to kind of create. But that's all I would say. I do think that but that's all I'll say. That 40 is kind of like at 50. Not to say you can't do it. I guess you could do it at any age, but I'm thinking you're looking at going out, right? Right. No,
Yeah.
I'm being honest. Like at 50,
Hey,
you really have to be a lot more secure in the move than you would have been that. But also at that age, you have more information. I think 40 is good because you're more youthful, right? You can you can still move and shake a little bit more. If you in your 50s, the switch is probably going to be something that you're already in, but switching a different lane in it because you also looking at I mean, let's be honest, going out at a certain time. When I mean going out, not mean deaf. I mean transitioning from working to
yeah.
retiring and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say, because we don't know who's listening to this, you don't want to just keep putting it off. So I made 40 a number for me. Let me say that. I made 40 a number for me, probably because that's where I was at. And I was like, I have to do it now. And that's where I was at. You could transition to anything at any time. However, I believe the longer you put it off, the more it could affect what you're trying to do.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
at
that's a
some
fact.
point you have to get into it.
Agreed. Like, I don't know which one of you it was. It might have been you, Brent, that said something about like, the talking about, not the actual do. Oh yeah, because that's when I was quoting, the great Red Man.
Yeah, from some action.
Cause I'm good for talking about an idea, but is you gonna do it or no? Like you don't got all the time in the world. What are you waiting for, dummy?
Hmm.
And
That's how I talk
and
to myself.
so any advice that I would give, I would just say make sure everything doesn't have to be for this. And maybe I shouldn't say this, but I feel I need to. Maybe what your thing isn't going to lead to this great change. Maybe it's just what you want to do, where you're going to find your happiness. Maybe it's knitting, right? But go knit. Like if that's your life joy and whatever you find in that, go and do that. It may not change your 9 to 5 or the whole spectrum of your life, but you may find your happiness there. I think, and we are talking about transitioning jobs now. Talking about transitioning jobs and career, you have to be ready to start at the bottom of wherever you're transitioning to. And at our age, we have kind of built up some equity wherever we've been at. So be prepared, like being a freshman again, right? It's like being a freshman again. Be prepared that you're not going to start at the top. You're going to be the low man on the totem pole. And that could be hard for some of us as we become more mature, right? And we're used to being. I'm literally at some point. I was checking people IDs and cards, patting people, like things that my mind. I'm past this, but at 40 years old, in order to make my transition, that's what it looked like, right? Everyone's didn't look like that, but I had to be willing to say, okay, I'm gonna go to this job at 11 o'clock at night, get off 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, because that's what I have to do. You have to be willing to. I'll say this, and I'll end it on this. My first paycheck that I got after my unemployment ran out as a grown man, married with children, all that was $275. And I
Wow.
tell yeah, and I tell people I was never so happy because it represented I did it. I took the first step to get in to the next step. And without that little check that I got, I would have And trust me, there's a lot of people will say, I can't do that. They told me, I've shared this story. They were like, yo, I couldn't have did that. I wouldn't have did that. I had to do it to get where I am now. But that's be prepared to start at rock bottom when you're transitioning to.
Okay. Dave, is there anything else you want to add as a final thought before I conclude?
Yeah, no, excellent point, Brent, for real. And that can be humbling to a lot of people. Every master was once a novice, right? And at a certain age, you know what I'm saying? Like you started your transition at 40, I started mine at 41. I turn 45 next Tuesday. And
Happy birthday.
again, thank you. I appreciate it.
Uh,
Yeah.
I'm not, you a Libra?
Yeah.
I'm a Libra
There
too,
Yeah,
11th of
we go,
October.
bro.
right behind.
There we go. Yeah, yeah.
Twins.
But there, look, where have you been?
We got to come on for another time together because
We gonna,
definitely got some great knowledge.
yeah, man. And for real, I mean that's a lot of it. Like you gotta prepare because you spent however long doing what you were doing first. And if it's a big shift, like what my shift was a totally different industry. I've been in aeronautics, for 20 years, and this was something I had not done before. So I had to learn. I had to start from ground zero and read and take courses and learn about business formation and learn about cars and all of these different things, right? But it's a level of stick to itiveness that you got to have. I think the biggest thing you got to look at is changing your association with the word failure.
Mm.
um because we look at failure as bad, but really failure is just the feedback that you need to get to what the right way is. And eventually enough failure is going to lead you to success. It's inevitable that it's going to happen. So like you got to say I'm not here just for what I categorize as good. I'm also here for what I categorize as bad because it's all for the good. At the end of the day, it's all going to get you there. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So you got to accept it all because you're building yourself up strength by strength to get there. Like these lessons where he was talking about, we're having to go to the spot and do security and all of that. Like that's made him better today. All of these things that I've done have prepared me to be the man that I needed to be to run this business, operations, systems, all of these things I didn't know about before. Be prepared to be a beginner again. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And again and again and again, because learning is life.
Yeah.
And the minute we think we got it all, that we done learned it all, that's when this shit pass you by. That's when AI, that's when this technology, all of it that's coming, it overcomes your current skill set because you thought you was cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
You gotta be a lifelong learner, and you gotta be okay with saying, "Oop, I did this. This ain't. I should have zigged when I zagged here. It's all right. I covered." You know what I mean?
Right.
And recovery and getting back up again and again and again, and you gonna win. Whatever your definition of win is, like Brent was talking about, it's not just financial. It's whatever. If win is impact, it should all be impact. We should all be looking to be
Right.
impact. You know what I'm saying? But like you're gonna get to it as long as you have decided that I made a pact and a contract with myself that I'm not gonna quit this time. We all done quit on something before. Make this pivot at this age be the thing that you have made a contract with yourself that you're never gonna breach.
There you
You know
go.
what I'm saying? And you'll be good.
Oh,
There you go.
wait.
Dave,
And let the church say
amen.
amen.
I got a saying, if you're learning, you're not losing, right? So as long as you're learning, you can never lose.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my heart is full.
Mine too.
I really appreciate y'all. So Sean, um, if you're still here, I don't know if you're still here. I might have to do another part of this conversation because I know a few folks that have done like similar transition or doing both like yourself, Dave. But once again, I appreciate you both tremendously. Thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, sharing your experiences and inspiring the people, inspiring me. I look forward to watching this back but there's so many gems. How am I going to cut it down for the
There
highlights?
we go. That's
You're
a good
big
one.
at
Anyway,
That's what you get paid the big bucks for.
You know it.
Where them big bucks
Come,
at?
They
Where
come.
them dollars at? Where
You
them
got
coming.
dollars
you
at?
got to believe it first.
You gotta believe
Yeah,
it.
Them dollars is coming. Them dollars is coming.
Look, I went
Give me
we went two
my
and a half
money.
years without no check. You can do it.
fact.
Anyway, thank y'all so much, and thank your families for letting me borrow you for an hour 45.
Staying quiet.
Y'all enjoy the rest of your evening,
Oh,
and you can see yourselves out.
Yeah.
all right.
Right.
Nice talk.
Take care.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Um, so I know it was a long discussion, but I mean honestly, they really had a lot of valuable information to share, so I just couldn't cut it off. But I do appreciate y'all for hanging in there with me, and I'll be back next week. Not sure what the topic will be, but hopefully y'all will be back along with me, and I will see y'all then. I'm out. Peace, two fingers.